Picture this. A 14-year-old peasant working in the fields of southern France. There are trees everywhere, and the location is isolated, and they have nothing more than a stick and maybe some oxen to protect them from bandits, wolves, or something worse. Out of the trees, they hear a loud sound. Something's moving fast. It sounds like a wolf, and it looks like a wolf, but it's bigger, and it's way bigger. It pounces. Its teeth enters their throat. They can barely let out a scream, let alone a breath, as life starts to fade from them. Another bite to their skull, and everything goes black. Another tragic victim has been claimed by the beast. The Beast of Gévaudan is a unique cryptid case that I've taken great interest in. Not only because of its high body count, 60 to 500 is nothing to scoff at, and not only because even 250 some years later there's still no conclusion as to what was wrong in the countryside between 1764 to 1767, but because unlike sightings of Bigfoot, Nessie, or even the Mothman, this case doesn't share that stigma. Nobody is arguing that something didn't attack these French people in the years of 1764 to 1767. It's what that is the big point of contention. Today in this video, I'd like to provide context to the situation and also hypothesize my own theories and come to my own specific conclusion based on my opinion and the things I know about animals. I've done a lot of research into this topic, and I think it's time to finally put that to use. So, hopefully you can join me on this video as we talk about the Beast of Gévaudan. The first recorded attack of the beast was in the early summer of 1764. The target was a young woman named Marie Jean Villette, who was tending to her cattle in the Mercoeur forest near the town of Longueuil, in the eastern part of Gévaudan. The attack would have surely been successful, if not for her bulls in the herd charging at the beast and keeping it at bay, which allowed Marie to take refuge behind them. She would later go to claim that it was like a wolf, yet not a wolf. Shortly afterward, the first official victim of the beast was recorded, a 14-year-old by the name of Jean Boulet, who was killed near the village of Les Subac, near Longueuil. Throughout the remainder of 1764, more attacks were reported across the region. These attacks would cause terror to grip the populace, not only because the beast was repeatedly preying on lone men, women, and children as they tended to the livestock in the forests around Gévaudan, but also due to the severity of the attacks, as reports note that the beast seemed to only target the victim's head and neck regions. By late December 1764, rumors had begun circulating that there might even be a pair of animals behind the killings, mostly due to the sheer high number of attacks within a short time span, but also because the attacks appeared to almost occur simultaneously next to each other. Some accounts even claim that the creatures were spotted together and sometimes even accompanied with young. On January 12, 1765, Jacques Patouffet and 7 friends were attacked by the beast. After several attacks, they managed to drive it away by staying together as a group. The encounter would eventually come to the attention and lead to the involvement of Louis XV, who awarded 300 livres, the French currency at the time, to Patouffet and another 350 livres to be shared among his companions. The king would also allow Patouffet to be given an education at the state's expense. He then decreed that the French state would help in the tracking and killing of the beast. From January to June of 1765, the hunt for the beast would be met with multiple failed attempts and tensions hitting breaking points. First, Captain Dumal of the Clermont Prince Dragoons and his troops would be the first to be sent into Gévaudan. Dumal has a historical record of having either poor luck, poor morale, or otherwise just ineffective methods of trying to capture this beast. He tried many different strategies, all of which failed. It was also well recorded that the people of Gévaudan did not respect Dumal. After some time, Louis XV would send in 2 professional wolf hunters of a father-son duo of Donneval. They would go on to murder a ton of Eurasian wolves over the next 4 months, but ultimately not capture the beast. They were then replaced in June of 1765 by François Anton, which was the king's sole arquebus bearer and lieutenant to lead this hunt. On September 20th or 21st, it's not entirely stated which day, Anton killed a large gray wolf that was measuring in 80 centimeters or 31 inches in height, 1.7 meters or 5 feet and 7 inches in length, and weighing 60 kilograms or 130 pounds. Anton officially stated, "We declare by the present report signed from our hand, we never saw a big wolf that could be compared to this one. Hence, we believe this could be the fearsome beast that caused so much damage." The animal was further identified as the culprit by attack survivors who recognized the scars on its body inflicted by victims defending themselves. The wolf would later be stuffed and sent to Versailles, where Anton's son would deliver it before the king's court. The court was not very much impressed. The French media had been very much publicizing this entire story, and there were many fantastical elements attributed to the creature that, when seeing it was just nothing more than a larger wolf, most people were not impressed. Anton, however, was still in Gévaudan, as he was determined to kill the animal's female partner, as well as any potential offspring. He came across the female partner and 2 full-grown pups. It is noted among the bodies that one of the pups seemed to possess a double set of dew claws, which is a hereditary malformation found in certain dog breeds in France. Anton would later return to Paris, where he received a large sum of money, over 9,000 livres, and would acclaim fame, titles, and awards. However, on December 2nd, 2 boys, ages 6 and 12, were attacked, which would suggest that the beast is still alive. The beast tried to capture the youngest, but was successfully fought off by the older boy. Soon after, successful attacks followed, and some shepherds even witnessed the beast not showing fear towards the cattle anymore. More than a dozen deaths were reported following these attacks near Les Bézères Sainte-Marie. The killing of the creature that would eventually mark the end of these attacks is credited to a local hunter named Jean Chastel, who shot the creature on June 19th of 1767. Later examination of the creature before its stuffing showed that there were human remains within its stomach, most likely from its latest victim. After this beast was successfully killed, examined, and stuffed, there were no more reported beast attacks, and no more attacks attributed to the beast. Thus, it is assumed that Jean was the person to successfully put the Beast of Gévaudan down. It should be noted that the French government doesn't acknowledge this, as they assumed Anton is the one who put the beast down nearly 2 years ago. So what do I personally make of all this? This will be the part where I discuss the prominent theories within this case, and I give my own personal opinions on the matter, in what I think does and doesn't work, and what is the most logical answer for this given case. Starting off with the theories that I don't particularly agree with. The first being, it's just normal wolf attacks plus mass hysteria. I don't subscribe to this whatsoever. I feel that given the abundance of wolf attacks that existed within southern France, as well as France as a whole, within the time period, I feel as though the people being attacked would know what a wolf attack was like, and they wouldn't assume that it's something different if they knew it was a wolf. If it acted just like a wolf, and it was the same size as a wolf, then it's pretty obvious that the French people wouldn't overreact. They would just say it was a wolf attack. So the notion that it's just wolf attacks and this is all just people acting crazy, and the notion of hysteria in general, I just don't agree with this. Do I think hysteria caused a lot of the more extreme accounts to be stated, like it being bulletproof or the ability to jump walls? Yes. Do I think that hysteria is the reason these attacks happened? No. Absolutely not. Secondly, a lot of people attribute this to being a werewolf, a dogman, or wolfman of some sort. And I do not agree with this whatsoever. I do not think what's happening here is the result of some sort of unidentified creature that we have never encountered before. Not because I think that's impossible, I just think there's a more grounded and rational explanation to this. Also, the notion of it being a werewolf in a supernatural sense doesn't make any sense given that southern France during the time was incredibly Roman Catholic, and thus they would not have access to materials necessary in order to create something supernatural like this. That sort of thing just wasn't happening at the time, and while people might have thought it might be a werewolf, I don't agree with any sort of humanoid wolf hybrid thing. I don't think that makes any sense, and I think there's a much better culprit for this scenario. Third thing that people attribute this to being some sort of prehistoric wolf, a dire wolf, or maybe a bear dog of sorts. No. If something that big was doing all this, it would not have been able to stay hidden in the French countryside. Also, the French countryside just isn't a place for an animal to survive extinction. That's not the right type of location. There isn't much rationale behind that sort of thing happening. So, with that being said, I'm going to now move on to the theories I think have some weight, but I have grievances with. Starting first with the really big one being it a serial killer plus a trained dog or something like that. I understand where this theory comes from, and I understand why this theory has a lot of water behind it. The notion of how these people were attacked could easily be attributed to someone trying to pretend to be a wolf, or even more training something to attack people. I think there's some validation to that. I think the mass amount of attacks is where I draw the line. I don't think someone could concoct such an elaborate story and then just conveniently have a bunch of normal wolf attacks look very similar to the 5 or 10 people that this person killed. A lot of people also suggest that Jean Chastel is the person who actually did the killings in the first place, and given the research I've done on Jean, he's someone who was a big game hunter, who hunted a lot, was in jail for a short period of time, and was overall a family man. I don't think he fits the bill of serial killer. I don't think he'd have the time to train a dog to do all that, and I don't think he'd have the time to afford the material necessary to make it quote-unquote bulletproof. In regards to that bulletproof statement, I think it's just people who miss and then just go on to say that, oh no, it took the shot, it just didn't flinch at all. Either it was really big and the shot didn't do much, or they missed. I think those are more rational than saying, oh, it took a bullet straight on and didn't flinch. But on the notion of it being a serial killer, I can see where that comes into play. I just don't think that that's the most rational answer that we can provide here. Another theory that a lot of people seem to suggest is very plausible that I just don't 100% agree with is the hyena or hyena hybrid theory. First off, a hyena is way smaller than a wolf. Second off, one hyena is not going to be able to take on that many humans and get away with it. Third off, while yes, the coloring and the shapage of the fur does match up with a hyena, the method of attack does not match up with a hyena. Hyenas are naturally peoples. They are naturally animals that scavenge. I don't think they would just go all out and viciously attack human beings, let alone human beings that are within like packs of cattle and things of that nature. And the notion of it being a hyena-wolf hybrid, absolutely not. That biologically does not work. That would take way too many steps, and while do I think French nobility could take the time to do that? Yes. Do I think they would? No. So I don't know why so many people think the hyena theory is a good one. I don't agree with it for a second. I think a hyena is too small, I don't think it has the right type of attack pattern, and I don't think it has the ability to take down a human by itself and then get away from other people hunting it. Moving on to theories that I think work. I'll start with the really basic one of it just being an above-average wolf or a wolf with a mutation of sorts. I don't see people bring this one up, but I think this one is very plausible. If it looks like a wolf and sounds like a wolf, but it's bigger than a wolf and to some extent not a wolf, maybe that's because there's something causing it to not look like a wolf. I understand that it's a very lackluster theory, but I think it holds a lot more water than a hyena theory, so I will put that one out there. Secondly, I will openly address the lion, panther, or otherwise big cat theory, as that seems to be another really popular theory. I think there's a lot of weight to that. I think, given the oddity of how this animal attacked people, I think it is very plausible that it could have just been a different animal that isn't a wolf. something like a lion or a panther. Something big and scary like that. Given that some of the attacks even note that it acts like a lion of sorts, and the fact that a lot of predators, such as a lion, go for the throat, I think it would make a lot of sense for it to be a lion. Now, I know that the British big cat theory is one that's been constantly put into question, but I think that something like that could easily be applicable here, as French nobility did bring in exotic animals, and I could see one of them getting loose. I think that's very plausible. Do I think that's the best answer? No, but I think it definitely comes in a close second or third. I do hold also some weight to that above average wolf theory. But I think the best plausible theory of what happened here is that it's a wolf-dog hybrid. Now, the reason I say that is because there are definitely some large species of dogs that are within the southern France mountain range area. I don't remember the specific name of Mastiff, but I believe there's a image that's being shown here. These are pretty big dogs. And I think it would be very reasonable for a dog to breed with a wolf. I think that is a very simple process to have happen. So for one of these dogs to escape, get into the wild, breed with a wolf, and create something bigger than a wolf, I think that's very reasonable. I think also it's very reasonable that the coloration could be changed because of that. So with that being said, I think a wolf-dog hybrid is a very, very solid answer for what's going on here. Do I think it's the best answer, and does it match up with everything within this case? No. Why would a wolf-dog hybrid just go for the throat and face and then nothing else? That doesn't make any sense. That makes more sense for maybe a lion, perhaps. Or if it is a lion, why is it attacking things that are close to cattle? Why would any of these animals attack something close to cattle if it shows that it's not good at fighting cattle? Even if it's above average wolf, why would it do that? That could potentially lead to something like the serial killer theory, but then the amount of attacks it took within this time period, it doesn't add up for just one serial killer. That's far too much preparation work. And if it's just one animal, that's still a lot of attacks within a short period of time, within a large span of country that you have to get through. And that's the biggest problem with this whole case. Not everything fits into place, and thus it's very hard to conclude an answer. I think, however, that the best theories that work here are a wolf-dog hybrid, a lion or some other big cat, or an above average or some sort of deformed wolf. To conclude, it goes without saying that this is a mystery that I don't think is ever going to get a solid answer. It's been far too long since these events occurred, and I think the debate will continue on years later as to what was roaming the countryside from 1764 to 1767. Everyone seems to agree that something killed these people. What killed these people seems to be the point in contention. Based on everything that I've researched and everything I've looked into, here are the things I can say for certain. I don't think the beast was supernatural, prehistoric, or just misidentification. While I think that these attacks were beyond the norm, I do not think it is too far beyond the norm to the extreme of something like a dogman, prehistoric wolf, or otherwise something supernatural. On the other hand, I don't think it was something normal, like normal wolf's attacks mixed with hysteria. I don't feel it was a hyena, as it doesn't really fit the build of a beast, and I don't think a hyena hybrid is plausible within the human world. I personally don't find that this theory holds much water. The serial killer angle, while makes sense, doesn't fully fit into the entire story of this beast's reign of terror. And I think the idea of Chastel doing it, while not impossible, doesn't hold a lot of water. It feels forced, it feels like a narrative in order to try to put a tragic twist on this entire event, even though these deaths are tragic enough as is. While I can understand why some people would come to this opinion, this isn't the one I'm going to back myself behind. I feel based on what I've been shown, everything I've researched, what the story details, and what's scientifically plausible in today's field, I think the best theories are a malformed or otherwise deformed or slightly above average wolf, a hybrid between a wolf and a dog, or some sort of predatory feline, such as a lion. I think these theories hold up the strongest as they make the most sense, attribute for a lot of the elements that are within this case, while also grounding it within a sort of scientific realism. And the notion of someone putting it down with something like Silver Bullet, I think, was just added for flair, or maybe Jean just got luckier than Dumas, which makes a lot of sense. I also think fear and media publication at the time helped make this more fantastical and much harder to entirely pin down what it actually was. But I think with everything that we have here, these are the three theories that I'm definitely going to back myself behind, and I strongly believe in the wolf hybrid theory with a dog. I think that would make a lot of sense. It's slightly abnormal, but not too extremely abnormal, but abnormal enough to cause some problems. But at the end of the day, I don't think we're truly going to get an answer for who committed these up to potentially hundreds of attacks across the French countryside. But to end with a solid point, I don't think something like this will ever be witnessed or ever really happen again. I think science and other advances in different fields have come so far that something like this would easily get put down fast, and would easily be identified as fast. The killer is dead, forced back into the French woods with the blood of youth, man and woman, human and animal alike, never to be seen by the judging light of day. At least, let's hope so.